An intense scene on I-35 this weekend as a Joe Biden, Kamala Harris campaign bus becomes surrounded by trucks driven by people claiming to be part of the Trump train. Video appears to show a pickup truck intentionally crashing into an SUV behind the Biden bus. This happened north of San Antonio. Eyewitness News reporter Jeremy Baker shows us where things are today.
The San Marcos Police Department was the first to get calls about the incident. They sent 3 officers, but say because there was so much traffic, they were unable to catch up to the bus before it left their jurisdiction. This was the scene Friday afternoon on I-35 as the Biden-Harris campaign bus was traveling from San Antonio to Austin, which appeared to be surrounded by what people call the Trump train. According to a Kyle police report, video footage makes it appear as though the at-fault vehicle may be the white SUV and the victim the driver of the black truck. Following the incident that evening, the president tweeted a video of the bus and the Trump train and the words, "I love Texas." Then yesterday evening, another tweet along with a picture from another Twitter account showing an FBI statement that they are investigating. President Trump saying, "In my opinion, these patriots did nothing wrong. Instead, the FBI and justice should be investigating the terrorists, anarchists, and agitators of Antifa who run around burning down our Democrat-run cities and hurting our people." Many others responded to the incident on Twitter, including former CBS Evening News anchor Dan Rather, saying, "These Trump intimidation caravans are engaging in criminal behavior in at least some, I think many, instances. Law enforcement must take a stand on the side of public safety and justice." We reached out to the San Antonio field office of the FBI, who said they are aware of the incident and investigating. No further information is available at this time. The San Marcos Police Department is working in cooperation with the FBI's Austin field office to provide them with information pertaining to this incident. Jeremy Baker, KENS 5 Eyewitness News.